Take a long look at yourself in the mirror, get in alignment with your values, who you are, what you want to do, who you want to work with, and then be consistent on LinkedIn with your presence, be consistent in the world with your network, connect with people in person, meet for coffee, grab meals, get on Zoom calls, and know that you're playing the long game. This is not a short game. Play the long game.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Regin, and today's guest is someone who knows what it takes to perform under pressure because he's done it in some of the biggest stages in the world. Jeff Salzenstein is a former top 100 ranked tennis player and a 2-time Stanford All-American, national champion, and team captain. But his story doesn't stop on the court. Today, he's a sought-after leadership speaker and executive performance coach, helping high achievers own their zone, which is a transformational framework he's developed to help leaders unlock excellence in a sustainable way. Jeff combines data-driven tools, mental performance techniques, and a deep understanding of human potential to help leaders expand their emotional, mental, and physical capacity, especially when they are under pressure. So it's a pleasure for me to have you on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
I'm very excited to be here with you. Thanks a lot.
Well, it's a pleasure for us, Jeff. So tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business.
Sure. Well, I've got an interesting story. I mean, we all have interesting stories, right? But, I picked up a tennis racket when I was 3-4 years old. My father was my first coach. And when you're a tennis player, you're always coaching yourself. You get on a tennis court. I played my first tournament probably when I was 7-8 years old. And you start playing tournaments. You play matches. There are no coaches. There's no one that can give you advice. You are out there on your own solving problems. So I think I was a coach pretty much from the time I came out of the womb, or at least the time that I walked onto a tennis court. And then having my father as a tennis coach, he had me start to think like a coach, to ask questions and to be curious and to learn how I could find the strategies and the angles to help myself win tennis matches. So it's in my blood. That's how it started. And, it's carried me so far with a lot of different things I've done in my life, playing professional tennis, obviously before that playing at Stanford for the greatest college tennis coach of all time, and then playing professional tennis for 11 years. Again, you're out there alone. Sometimes you have a coach in the stands cheering for you, but a lot of times they give you the game plan before. But you've got to figure out the game plan and what's going to work and how to adjust out there. So tennis prepared me for life. Tennis prepared me for business. It prepared me to be a coach to executives and to leaders and founders and athletes today. So I think it puts tennis players in particular in a unique position. If you're cerebral, if you're a thinker, if you like to solve problems, naturally makes you, I think, a pretty good coach.
I like that. That is actually, we've had coaches that have started their careers from different industries. Like we've had coaches that were opera singers in this podcast. Now we have a tennis player as well. So I'm excited about that. Now, how does the journey look like when you just started your executive coaching business? Like what led to that? And after that, what do you find most rewarding ever since you started your executive coaching business?
Yes, it's never a straight line, and the journey to get me there was playing professional tennis, getting to top 100 in the world, really studying all things high performance. So I played a big match against Michael Chang back in 1997. I lost in 4 sets. I thought my career was about to take off. And after I lost that match, about 3 months later, I had my first career-threatening injury to my ankle, and then 6 months later it was my knee, and then after that it was my shoulder. And so over the course of 2 years, I thought my career was over, and that's when I started studying physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health and performance. And I really wanted to take a holistic approach to healing my body and to upgrading my mindset and to learn how to train my nervous system. And so I went on this journey and I made a lot of mistakes and I failed a lot. But again, that was the coaching side of me. That was the beginning of this framework around owning your zone. And from there, when I stopped playing professional tennis, I started coaching. And then when I say coaching, I was coaching tennis players. So I'm on a tennis court and I'm working with players. And again, you're helping them solve problems and you're helping them find ways to improve. And I got a lot of value out of that. It was an amazing feeling to be on the other side of it, to not be a player. I built an online tennis instruction platform called Tennis Evolution. So I made over 700 videos on YouTube all about tennis instruction. So I'm kind of coaching online now. And at some point, I got this feeling, this niggle inside of me that it wasn't just going to be about tennis, that I needed to do something bigger. I needed to expand outside of the great world of tennis. And that's what led me to executive coaching and to performance coaching. So I started working with leaders, with folks that didn't necessarily play tennis. And I was very curious and committed and interested in helping these high achievers deal with the pressure and stress in the day-to-day of what happens in our personal and professional lives. So I made the crossover from being in the tennis world for over 40 years into the world of working with executives, leaders, founders, and other athletes, but really with an eye on, instead of helping forehands and backhands and being improving strategy on the court or improving your mindset on the tennis court, now it was about the mindset and the strategy and the fundamentals that we all need to be able to be high performers and not burn out and have that lasting longevity. So my journey from tennis was a long one. And then ultimately I knew I needed to spread my wings and do something bigger. I needed to make bigger impact in the world and apply all the things that I learned as a professional athlete into the world of executive coaching and leadership coaching.
You currently still find tennis players that want to be coached by you, or you just stop that entirely?
I do. No, I get emails and I get texts and I get calls like, hey, will you still give a lesson, or will you help me with my serve, or my son needs help, or can we fly out to you? So yeah, it still happens. I'm humbled and flattered, and every once in a while I get out on the court to help somebody because I am a helper and a giver and a guide. And but I'm all in on the coaching, and then in particular the speaking. So about 2.5 years ago, I decided I wanted to get on stages because I knew that instead of coaching one-on-one or in small groups, if I get on a stage with a couple hundred people or a couple thousand people, I can make more impact. I can create that ripple effect with this Own Your Zone framework, and the knowledge and the expertise I've developed over the years, I can share that from a stage. And then that naturally leads to more interest in people waking up every day to try to improve and optimize their body, their mind, and their soul.
And when it comes to the leaders that you're working right now, do they fit in a specific industry or demographic or a certain goal that they have generally that you help them with?
So there's range there, because if you think about it, any leader that's growth minded, that wants to get better, that's driven, that's I call them top 1%ers or even top 0.1%ers. They're doing big things in the world. They have drive, they have desire. There's a reason they got to the position that they got to. They're doing great things in the world, and then some part of their life or their work life is off, and maybe it's like blending it all together. There's a lot of people say there's no such thing as work-life balance, but there is a way to integrate and to see what your blind spots are and to see where you might be sabotaging your performance in different areas. And so it really isn't dependent on industry. It's more dependent on the level of growth and expansion and openness that an individual, a leader has, and their acknowledgement and their commitment that how important it is to have a coach. And I always find it interesting that these top leaders, if they don't have a coach, I find that very interesting, because in all sports, whether it's individual or whether it's team, we all have coaches helping us on our journeys. We all have people that help us be accountable, to see our blind spots, to help us change course, whether it's a 1-degree shift or a 50-degree shift. Sometimes you have to take a hard right turn. Sometimes it's just a small little turn, but it requires someone on the other side looking at your life and listening and asking questions to be able to make those adjustments.
So it's more of like a holistic approach. You're not just like working with them on their like the business that they're related to. You're just like also taking like a holistic approach to their life as well. Like I said, there's no real work-life balance, but there could be a work-life harmony in a way. And when it comes to like clients finding you or you finding them, what marketing channel do you find that works best for you right now?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. The number one lead generator for me is getting on stages. You know, I was just did an opening keynote for a credit union association, and there were 200 people in the room. I did my Own Your Zone framework, and I've got several connections that they want to work with me in a coaching or speaking capacity. So I think the number one lead generator for me is to get on stages, to share my stories, to share the framework, to bring my heart, to bring my humanness, my authenticity. There's a lot of stories behind the scenes that we're probably not going to get into today, but that's number one. I think the second would be when this kind of boutique approach. Like, I'm not trying to go work with thousands of people as a coach. I'm not trying to do online coaching and put an offer out there and automate it. In this world of AI, I am doing high touch boutique coaching. So how do you attract those clients? It's word of mouth, and it's warm your network. So people that know me, that have been following me for 30, 40 years in tennis, they know who I am. They know what I stand for. They know my values around character and integrity and doing the right thing and being in alignment and always striving to be better and curiosity. So I attract clients through my network. And but then also your presence online is important. You know,
Mhm.
having a strong LinkedIn presence, even having Instagram. You know, because people are lurking and they're stalking and they're watching you, even when you don't know that they're watching. So I would say, if I were to simplify it all, my answer would be speaking from stages, that your network and your relationships, and then that social media presence where people are following you and they're engaging in the content. And I've seen clients come in all three areas.
And since speaking is the biggest one, I've had coaches that I've interviewed that they would do speaking as well, but I've never asked when it comes to what is the strategy behind making an event where there's going to be hundreds to even thousands of people. How do you market that
In terms of getting on the stage,
in terms of getting people to come up? Are they just coming up for you, or are you being invited into the stage?
I see. Yeah. So I'm not in the business of trying to get 200 people to my own event. I am in the business. I decided I want to be a professional speaker, a legit speaker. So, like anything, you know, in tennis, if you want to be the best, you study your craft and you work on your serve and you work on your strategies and you work on your mind and you work on your body. It is a full-time profession. It is a full-time obsession.
Mhm.
And same thing with coaching. If you want to be a great coach, you've got to be very committed to the practice of coaching. And with speaking, the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been learning everything I can about the business of speaking. So I'm crafting my keynote. I'm practicing how I come across on stage. I'm working on the marketing and building relationships. And so I really work on getting on stages for, you know, different associations, companies, leadership summits, all hands. And so they would find me, you know, in different ways to bring me to the event. But I'm definitely not the only event. I'm not the only part of that event. I'm one part of it, one speaker in the whole conference. And then they find me and they bring me in and I do my Own Your Zone. And people, if they like it, then we can connect later. I use a QR code that generates leads. And so that's a marketing strategy that I use with the speaking and with the coaching.
Hey, thanks so much for sharing that. Do you have any goals right now that you're working towards for the next 1 to 3 years with your coaching business?
Yes. So again, I the speaking is really where I'm passionate about, because even from a stage, you're coaching a bit because you're giving tips and tricks and helping. But my goal is to get on as many stages as possible. And in terms of the coaching, I always like to work with 3 to 5 high performing clients that want to do big things in the world, and we're constantly working on how we can exponentially improve or grow. Not, I mean, the small wins, I love the small wins and we focus on the small wins, but I really try to work on helping my clients create this incredible vision of what they want to create that's so much bigger than what they're doing now. And when I say bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean revenue numbers. It means bigger in terms of how they show up, their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, their presence, their relationships. If that's their 10x, if that's their exponential growth, we focus on that. If it's 10xing their business and growing their business, we look at that. But I'm definitely focused on the high touch 3 to 5 clients at a high investment level, significant investment that they're making because this is important to them and this is going to change their lives for the better and have lasting impact. I'm certainly open to developing programs with group coaching and working with others at that capacity. But I find that my sweet spot right now is the one-to-one coaching and then getting on stages as a leadership speaker.
I really like that. And I like that you're focused on like 3 to 5 clients that you really want to make an impact and focus on those people, or have later on once you also develop it. Are you currently doing group coaching, or are you just thinking of developing that later?
I develop group coaching from the need of the company that I work with. So I'm getting ready to engage a group where we're going to do a coaching series. And again, they saw me at a conference and they have this masterclass program that they're doing, and they brought me in to do that. I'm going to be doing that with another company as well, where we're going to have a 6-month engagement with their executive team. So it's instead of having a cookie cutter program, what I do is I adjust to the market. If they're hiring me instead of like the program, they connect with me, they trust me, that I'm relatable. My past really helps me. I think, I'm getting ready to work with a new client right now, and I asked her why she wanted to hire me, and she said a lot of coaches are a little bit soft and they're a little bit fluffy. Those are some of the terms she used, and I'm definitely not a hard ass, but I think coming from the world of tennis and the world of, you only make money if you win and you have to get results, then I think she appreciates that sports background, that athletic background. Instead of hiring maybe an executive coach from the business world, she's hiring a former athlete that knows what it takes to help her physically, mentally, and emotionally. Her business is doing great and it's growing, but she wants help with how she can be the best leader she can be. And that involves the physical, the mental, and the emotional. You can't have one and be missing the other elements and expect to be the best version of yourself. And so same with the group coaching, when I work with executive teams, then we work on my own your zone framework, but we also look at communication styles, how they're communicating, and any type of friction that may be going on, or limiting beliefs individually or collectively. So it's really interesting because I have this framework, and we can work on a lot of things in the framework, but then it can expand and it can morph and we can customize it. And I think that's probably part of my history in tennis, is like you always have to adapt and adjust. You can't just have some cookie cutter program that you roll out every week. You have to be able to adjust to the person that's on the other side or the group that's on the other side.
Mhm. And when it comes to, you said executive teams, this is like an executive team within a company. You don't really have a group of executives from different companies that you get. It's
Correct.
like
Correct.
5 clients, you'd get them on a group. You would not do that right now.
Yeah, I've made the conscious decision because I'm speaking. That's my number one generator for coaching clients. I get on stages and then I attract companies to bring me in to work with their teams.
Mhm. Thanks so much for sharing all of that. And
Sure.
when it comes to investments, what would you say have been some of the investments that you've made that actually have helped grow your executive coaching business? And that could be even investments. I don't know if you have to invest to get some of the speaking events, or maybe coaching programs or masterminds or communities, whatever that is. What do you think it has been the best investment for you?
Yes, because I've chosen to have the speaking be my number one generator of coaching clients, I've invested heavily on the speaking side of things. So I'm in a mastermind in a community called Impact 11, and I started with them just over 2 years ago. I owe a lot of my success to being in that community, and we get to learn all the trade secrets of what it takes to be a great speaker. both from creating your content to marketing yourself to positioning, branding, marketing. And all of that can carry over to the coaching too. So I'm learning a lot of business skills being in that group. I always advise people, whatever they want to do in their lives, to go find the best of the best and get coached by them. And so I made the choice that I wanted to go after the speaking. If you're a coach and you don't want to speak, although I highly recommend that you learn that skill because it's so important with communication, and you don't have to. There's a lot of great coaches out there that don't speak. But if you're not going to do that, then I would find a coaching program where the best of the best are hanging out. Don't mess around with programs where, they don't have proven results or they're kind of trying to sell you something. Like go find the best in the world and invest in yourself, and that will accelerate your progress.
And right now, where do you find the biggest challenge that you have in further scaling? I know you want to keep it boutique.
Yeah.
So maybe scaling is not the right word, but like, what would be the biggest challenge from you getting from where you are now to where you want to be?
I think that sometimes the biggest challenge is actually more of a mindset thing. And the reason I say mindset is that I believe I believe that I would say I'm a world-class coach. I think I'm pretty good. I still can get better, but I think I'm pretty good. And the feedback I get is pretty good. Probably better than pretty good, but I'm trying not to be too cocky right now, confident, and realize just saying that probably comes off that way. But I think that the biggest challenge is the gap between where you think you are, and a lot of coaches and speakers probably struggle with this, where you think you are, thinking you're a very good coach or world class or pretty good, and the marketplace not quite recognizing it yet. I find that, especially with speaking, but also even with coaching, there's a bit of a lag in people maybe knowing you or understanding you. And so I would say it's that gap between the result and where you're at right now, and like dealing with the kind of the frustrations and the pain points of going like, hey, I know I'm really good at what I do and I know I get results, but I don't quite get as much demand as I'd like. So, I guess we could, one, it's mindset, because it's like you're kind of frustrated or curious or wondering, or maybe you get a little bit down on yourself. But then the second part is purely, it's probably a marketing issue. Like, not enough people know you or can find you, or maybe your positioning isn't clear enough in how you're going out to the world. It's probably a marketing and a positioning problem. So I'd say it'd be like those two things: the gap between where you are and where you want to be in terms of the mental kind of pain that comes with that, and then the actual strategies, the marketing, the branding to get people to raise their hand. But I don't, in coaching, especially boutique coaching, and if you don't have an online offer, I think it's word of mouth and referrals. So you've got to do a great job with the clients you have, and then it's also, you got to play the long game. People aren't going to just show up, and when you have a boutique practice, you don't have 300 people like signing up for a course. So yeah, you have to be really connected to your network and do a great job, and be ready when the people show up. Like I just enrolled a client the other day. How much marketing was involved in this? I went to an event, and she'd kind of been tracking me, I think, a little bit, maybe on LinkedIn. Then she saw me get up on a stage for 90 seconds. And then at a break coming off the stage, she like sprinted towards me and like ran after me and said, I think you're supposed to coach me. Like, I didn't go get her. I didn't go try to find her. She came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that happen? Well, again, I think she followed me on LinkedIn. I think she appreciated my story. It was like right time, right place. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you can quantify that. I don't know if you can systematize that. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just you showing up every day online and in the real world, and people know who you are, and they start to hear about you, and then it just starts to build momentum over time. I don't think you can just do it in the first year, for 2 years, or maybe even the first 5 years. It does take time for the market to catch up to what you do.
Mm-hmm. And so far, when it comes to own your zone, it's been about almost getting closer to 10 years now, right?
I would say the own your zone framework It's been an evolution, and the actual name Own Your Zone is relatively new. I've always been into excellence and getting into your zone and getting into the zone of excellence. But in terms of the actual framework, it's been developed for a number of years, but the name Own Your Zone is relatively new. And I think that's a lesson for coaches, is that you don't have to be static. Like you can, as long as you're not like selling millions of books and copies and you're like kind of stuck with your brand, even then you can still change it at some point. But it's been an iteration process and an evolution to get to own your zone. I think that's another thing, is that if you are changing names and you're changing the different things in your framework, the marketplace can get confused. So it will take time once you make changes, and you have to wait for the marketplace to catch up to your knowledge, your wisdom, your expertise, and the great work that you do.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to get you on the podcast and push this also out to more people. Is there any final advice you'd like to give to other executive coaches who are looking to scale their impact?
I'll just reiterate, in the spirit of the fundamentals and keep things simple, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. Take a long look at yourself in the mirror, get in alignment with your values, who you are, what you want to do, who you want to work with, and then be consistent on LinkedIn with your presence, be consistent in the world with your network, connect with people in person, meet for coffee, grab meals, get on Zoom calls, and know that you're playing the long game. This is not a short game. Play the long game. And finally, I would say, get coaching, get mentorship, get help on getting clear on who you are as a coach, how you coach, what works for you. Get clear on your marketing and your sales. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there that are not great at sales, and I would say I'm probably in that group, in that I'm more of a coach rather than a seller or a marketer. But I've learned some tips and tricks recently around selling that have helped make it feel more comfortable when I get on a call instead of a little bit nervous, especially when I'm about to present the investment level, because it's a significant investment. And some people value coaching at, I pay a coach $150 per session. And others will value a coach that says, I pay him six figures. And there's a huge range there, right? And people's tolerance for what they want to invest for coaching. So just learning that, and I don't think you can always just come to a client and say, this is how much I charge and take it or leave it. I mean, you can do that if you're in that high demand, but I've found that it makes more sense to meet people where they're at and see if you can make it work from the financial perspective. So I know I went a little bit on a tangent there with that last bit, but and I gave a number of ideas and strategies for coaches, but there's probably a few nuggets in there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeff. For anyone who wants to find you or connect with you, they can go into your LinkedIn, Jeff Salzenstein, or they can also go into your website, jeffsalzenstein.com. Is there any other way they could connect with you?
That's the best place to go. And if you want to send an email, you can go to jeff@jeffsalzenstein.com, and would love to hear from anyone that resonates with this message today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.